Two, one.
Hello and welcome to BQ Prime. A very good morning to all the viewers. I'm Hiral Dadia, and joining us on the show is Sanjay Purohit, whole-time director and group CEO at Sapphire Foods, to discuss about the first quarter numbers. Clearly, the EBITDA was pretty much in line with what the street was estimating. Revenues grew 20%, led by a 27% growth in the store count. To discuss further, Sanjay joins in. Sanjay, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Hiral. Nice to be on your show.
Always a pleasure to speak to you. Sanjay, my first question coming to you is, have the numbers met your internal expectations?
So perhaps a bit of yes and a bit of no. From a growth perspective, in these soft conditions, I think our 20% growth is strong and solid. But we are always striving for more. Typically, we say that with our store additions, we still want to grow same-store sales growth in the region of 5 to 7%. So same-store sales growth have been a little challenged. And they've been challenged now for the last 3 quarters. I think we guided this and we spoke about this post-Diwali of last year, that demand conditions have certainly been challenging. However, having said that, if you look at our financial performance on KFC, we've still delivered one of our best ever restaurant margins of 20.8%. So we just only beat that in the quarter 3 of FY21 or FY22. So financial performance on KFC really strong. On Pizza Hut, the drop in average daily sales per off stores and negative same-store sales growth had an impact on restaurant margins. So restaurant margins have come at 9. Clearly, that's not where we want, where we want to be. And the third business vertical of Sri Lanka, operating conditions are stable. I think there we bottomed out in terms of consumer demand, and we should start now seeing a gradual growth. So, long answer to your question, but a bit of yes and a bit of no.
Right. So overall, let me pick up the store count.
Yes.
The guidance that you have given is that a doubling in the next 3 to 4 years, which implies almost a 15 to 25% store CAGR growth. Correct. Is that something that you still abide by, taking the market conditions into consideration, or do you think there is a possibility that the company may fall short?
So we guided doubling the store count 3 to 4 years, which really translated into perhaps 130 to 160 stores a year. Now, last 2 years, we've been at the top end of the spectrum. Perhaps this year we'll be at the bottom end of the spectrum. But over a 3 to 4 year period, I think we should still be able to hold on. Certainly this year we'll be at the bottom end. In Sri Lanka, for example, we've not opened any Pizza Hut stores at all this year. We just opened 2 stores in Maldives. KFC, we continue to grow at the same pace. Pizza Hut India, perhaps slightly slower than earlier.
Right. So overall, what's going to be the strategy from here on with Pizza Hut as well as KFC? Because clearly, as you mentioned, no new stores in terms of Pizza Hut that have opened. So will FY24 store opening additions in terms of Pizza Hut be lower than FY23, number one? And number two, with regards to KFC as well, how are you expecting the same-store sales growth considering the number of Hindu festivals that come in the second quarter? So consumption will be slightly lower as well.
Correct. So first, we haven't opened Pizza Huts in Sri Lanka. In India, we opened 16 Pizza Huts in the last quarter. So I mentioned no store openings in Sri Lanka, not in India. I think you asked, the first question is that what's the plan on KFC and Pizza Hut? And really, I look at this, our brand priorities, there are simply 5 brand priorities. One is we've got to, in a competitive market, we've got to drive consideration as well as top of mind awareness. So that's through advertising. We've increased our advertising spends on Pizza Hut especially. The second part is how do we own taste in the category? And that's through innovations. So you've seen the launch of a 99 rupee range in KFC. You've seen the launch of a completely new pizza range in Pizza Hut. The old range, we've taken that out and launched 10 new pizzas. So innovation and value is the second pillar. The third pillar is how do we deliver outstanding customer service based on great operational execution. And on both the brands, we've done really well. In fact, this quarter, Pizza Hut, Sapphire Pizza Hut was ranked as the #1 franchisee globally in the Yum system on guest experience scores. So this is the fourth pillar of our brand priorities. And the fifth pillar is how do we increase accessibility, which is really through store counts. So this is the broad framework that we operate in. I think when overall demand conditions are soft, what we can do is just continue to focus on these 4 or 5 elements. And we've done that. Innovation, we have seen higher marketing spends. We've seen greater accent on customer experience. Our store counts continue from an accessibility perspective. So we are doing really, Hiral, the best that we can. And I'm sure when conditions improve, perhaps towards the end of the calendar year, I think all of this will pay off for us.
Right. So overall, what's going to be the strategy from here on with KFC and Pizza Hut? Because KFC, you still have 46% of the distribution, which is through dine-in, whereas in terms of Pizza Hut, 47% is through delivery, right? So how are you seeing that strategy formulate from here on, number one? And two, what's the plan with Taco Bell?
So we are really channel agnostic in terms of how we push sales. So revenue by channel is important. So dine-in, takeaway is also an important channel here. Own delivery as well as aggregator partners. So and we continue to do everything to ensure that all 4 channels see reasonably secular growth. And if I just look at post-COVID, I think all of these channels have seen secular growth. So we continue to push this. On both the brands, I just outlined the basis of our strategy: advertising, innovation, value, customer experience, and accessibility. So that continues, and that we will double down on both KFC, Pizza Hut. Taco Bell, we only operate in Sri Lanka. We don't operate it in India. We've got 9 stores there in Sri Lanka. I think coming out of COVID, that business has seen a little bit of a higher impact, and therefore we are really going to go slow on expansion till we are able to get the brand proposition right. But it's a very small, very, very small part of our business.
One question that comes to my mind is, the territorial rights of KFC that Sapphire has, right, are in states with a relatively higher vegetarian population. Does that come in as a negative from an expansion or a same-store sales growth for a KFC perspective?
So there are 2 sides to this coin. Higher vegetarian population, most certainly you're right, the territories that we operate. But the territories that we operate also are richer. So per capita GDP of these states is exactly the inverse. So if we have got 45-46% of vegetarian population, our GDP contribution is 55%. So clearly, and disposable income drives growth in the QSR category and drives consumption of animal protein. So this is something that we are seeing as people get more affluent. They want to spend on the QSR category and they want to spend on consumption of animal protein. And if you see, chicken consumption over the last 20 years has grown 8 times. It is scheduled to grow nearly 3-4 times in the next 5-6 years. So per capita GDP, I would say, is perhaps a greater barometer of potential growth than anything else.
Right. And my last question coming to you is, do you think that there could be a significant push to the urban and discretionary consumption spend in the second half of FY24, taking India into consideration, taking the festive season, because the base year had an earlier festive season. Number two, you have the ODI World Cup as well. And there are 30% more festive days this year. Do you think all of this will have a positive impact where the second half of FY24 for Sapphire Foods could be stronger than the first half of FY24?
I think you asked this question, and perhaps I didn't answer it properly earlier. Quarter 2 sees a much higher proportion of festival sales, and typically seasonality for KFC means that sales are lower for us in Quarter 2. I mean, this has happened since time immemorial. But I think it should be at the same rate that we have seen perhaps earlier. This year, there's a greater number of Shravan days and so on. I mean, though my surname is Purohit, I still don't understand some of this entirely. But so our correlation is not really with festive days. So it has to be festive days plus non-vegetarian permissible days. Typically, we see after Navratri is when consumption on KFCs starts. Pizza Hut is reasonably secular right through the year.
Right, so that's going to be an interesting trend from here on. Thank you, Sanjay, so much for joining us on the show and sharing those views. And we will be awaiting a lot of pizzas and, in office soon as well with all the festivities starting. And thank you. Stay safe and speak to you soon again.
Thank you so much.